By the time Lori and I met, it had been a full year of her job search. She was almost to the offer. She'd make it to some interviews, but she never did get selected. After that 1 year mark, she realized something needs to change. It's kind of an exciting story, and she's going to share some insights with you today. So let me hop on out of here and let's get started with Lori's story.
Before we connected, what I felt right from the beginning, but I wasn't sure until I finally realized that my tools, my resume, my LinkedIn, I didn't feel that they were getting me all the hits that I should have been getting. I did have plenty of screenings. I had a lot of screenings. And then I would get into like that first interview, and that would be fine. But that first interview was still a little bit of a screening because I would have the recruiter, no, I would have the HR person or the recruiter, one and both in the first two meetings. And I found it challenging to get past that. Some cases I did get past it, but something was missing. Something was definitely missing because I wasn't getting the hits and the reactions and the feedback to come back for that second or third. And so you had worked with both Kate and Jackie. And so Kate and I have always like stayed in touch, and I had reached out to her. I think it was in June or July, just checking in. And she's like, "Oh, I just started it, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's fantastic." My first reaction was, why didn't I get a call? I knew I submitted for that one, but why didn't I? Because I never got the call. So when she told me that and that didn't happen, I was very happy for her, but it made me actually sit back and think like, wait a second, something's off. Like something is totally off here because I definitely should have at least gotten a call, but my tools still weren't strong enough. So she was telling me that she did tell me that what she spent time doing was really soul searching on how she could bring more of an impact. And then she mentioned that she found you. And I was like, so that made me think. That was in June, July. I thought a little bit more about it. I'm trying to remember, when did we start? So we started in like October, I think,
Yeah.
October, November, right? So I started thinking about it, and I was like, I don't know, let me see. Like this, I still had a little things coming up. And then I was like, and I was still getting callbacks, but again, it was the same pattern. And finally I was like, okay, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. It's just not going to happen. So the reality is that I needed help, and I couldn't figure this out. And I was having trouble with AI. Like there was a lot of
Mm.
things I was struggling with. I'm not a writer. I'm confident in speaking, but I couldn't figure it out. So anyway, so peaks and valleys of the interview process. There were two within between October and November. There was one specifically, it was for the soap company. They were all in person, and it then became neck and neck with one other applicant. And now that I've gone through this, I've uncovered what potential reason why I didn't end up getting that. I think was because of the stories and the way I delivered my examples and the way I provided my experiences. That was very early on. And then it was very quiet. The market was very quiet. So it was like big peaks and big valleys. So yeah. And then I found you. And then like right after got my LinkedIn updated, got my resume updated, I started to get a tremendous amount of activity on my off of my tools. And that's when started, and that's with started. And then that's probably why ended up calling me after I
Mm.
took the position. It was a journey of like, in hindsight, I'm like, why didn't I wake up a little bit faster? Or why didn't I? And I think that's just something that I personally just went through of like frustration and okay, it's going to being positive, but not realizing that I needed to make something change faster. If I connected with you sooner, I feel like I would have had, I definitely think something would have happened sooner because I am confident. I have the experience, and this job, she didn't even hire me on experience. She hired me on my strengths of like working with people and seeing potential in streamlining process and things that are Like, I'm doing digital deliverables for creative. I've never done digital before in my life. I mean, I know what banners are and I know like web pages and stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know what those actual assets are and what the questions are to ask. Packaging, I could do with my eyes closed. This was just a whole different thing.
Mm. Is there one specific point in time where you thought, okay, that's it. I've got to contact someone. I've got to get some help. Hey there, you're listening to the Uncommon Career Podcast, and we're here every single week to help you do what Lori did to go from a year of almost offers to finally getting the role and signing on the dotted line. My name is Patricia Ortega, and I'm your brand strategist, your career coach, and according to Lori, builder of job search toolkits. Now, before we get started with Lori's story here, if you want to learn about the strategy that she used and that she implemented and that I use with every single client, feel free to head over to theuncommoncareer.com/process and you can grab it there. All right, let's get back into Lori's story. Is there one specific point in time where you thought, okay, that's it. I've got to contact someone. I've got to get some help.
It totally was. It was once that year hit, I was like it's been a year.
Mm,
And then I think at that point it was another company that was looking pretty good. So I kind of like relaxed a little bit. Like I feel like along the way there peaks of this could be something. The conversations sound very positive, like this could be something. And then it amounted to nothing. Like there
mm,
was just silence. It happened a lot. And I couldn't get in far enough in the process to even think of closing it. And
mm,
was it the tools? Probably. Was it identifying like those 3 stories and being able to talk to them more? Was it realizing what that like corporate level question is at those certain levels? Could have been. Like there were things,
mm.
little things, they seem little, but I think in the 15 months of me not working, I think they were a lot bigger in hindsight.
What did the program help you to do that would not have happened otherwise?
So I definitely feel like the program helped me with honing in on the facts, which is a lifelong challenge for me. It's kind of like I compare it to like my relationship with food, a lifelong challenge, like something I have never been able to not control, but been able to fix in a way. Like
Mm,
I could eat everything, but I can also talk and talk on and on and on, but I'm not delivering what's the relatable fact. And I feel like within this program we went through, and it wasn't a lot. Like when we just outlined on my resume and I started talking, and I think for me, because I'm not a writer, but I think where it's changed for job searching than it had 10 years ago, it's not just about your experience and your job description. It's more than that. And I would never have known that. I actually thought when I redid my resume that not dropping the brand names that I worked on and all of these stories with metrics, I thought, oh, well, that's just like who wants to know that? And I truly honestly thought that. But then when we went through it, I was like, yeah, but those are my stories. And that's what I've become. Like we
mm,
talked about like your brand and your strategy, but that's been me for 10 years. So yeah, on paper, it does make sense that that should be my story and that should be my experience.
mm,
The job descriptions are the job descriptions, like, and they're very vanilla, but they're very generic, and everybody could you Google project manager, like, what do you need to be a project manager? And you get a job description. So for
mm,
me, it was like, it was very eye opening that, wow, that's how elevating my tools will get me there, which I didn't know how to. And I just didn't think of it that way because I thought, oh, who cares? Those are just brands I worked on. But they're really not just brands when you talk about your successes and your experiences. So, yeah.
You know what's interesting is when people come, they come with different skills and talents and different needs. For you, it was let's get into the right mindset so that everything you say just flows like naturally. So I know
Mhm.
that was helpful for you. And I'm glad to hear it. I'd love to kind of start wrapping this up with the wins,
Mhm.
starting off with, I believe, I'm going to look here in my, yep, 22 days to your first offer.
Yeah.
From a
Isn't
year
that
and
nuts?
change to
That's
20
crazy.
2
Mhm,
days. Congratulations on that.
mhm.
Tell us about like your other wins, whether it's the job that you decided to take, whether it's, yeah, what are the outcomes from the program for you?
I do have to say, even though that was 22 days to that offer, and for me, the win was that I actually knew that wasn't meant to be. Like, I knew in my gut that, yes, could I have taken that job and continued with and left the other company and had a salary and taken, yeah, I probably could have in hindsight. But I knew in my gut. So to me, that kind of was a win of like, you really listen to yourself. And not always do I listen to myself. And sometimes we're like, oh, should I have done this? Should I have done
Mm,
that? But I don't know. It really just reassured me that there are moments, whether
mm,
it's job searching or something else, that go with your gut. Like, I
mm.
knew that that wasn't gonna happen, and so I knew that so that kind of was a win for me
Yeah.
because I knew not to put myself in a situation that I wasn't gonna be successful because I wouldn't have been. I would have hated it, so I wouldn't have been wanting to work and wanting to like, I wouldn't have been in it.
Yeah.
Like, now I'm just like, I jump out of bed and I'm like, "Okay, this day is gonna be chaotic and I'm gonna love it."
In our one of our first conversations, you were like, I would love to work for. What does it feel like to say, I'm in?
Yeah, I am. Now it feels great. And now I'm more about, okay, I need to make sure I stay here. I need to make
Mm,
sure that what I'm doing is a positive impact. I'm forward planning. I'm looking ahead. I'm supporting here. I'm collaborating here. Like, those are the things now. I'm like, okay, I'm here. They like me. I know they like me, or they're getting
yeah.
to like me. And if they haven't, they're going to. But, but that's kind of where my head is now, is more
Yeah.
like, how do I, it feels really great. But I'll tell you, I walked in that building, the lobby, gorgeous, gorgeous.
Mhm.
I'm working globally with a UK office, which I love. So
I
it's
remember
like,
that was one of the things you really wanted was global collaboration.
I really want a global collaboration because there's something so cool about like delivering assets to different markets. And I don't know, it's fun. It's like, I don't know. Not that the
I love
US
it.
is domestic is vanilla, but it's fun.
It kinda gets you out of your bubble that we're here in the US
It
with this
does.
culture, you know?
Yeah, and I've done a ton of meet and greets. It's figuring, this place is huge, like figuring out who's who and who needs to be in this meeting, but it's asking the questions, and I've definitely figured out that in this company, you can't ask too many questions, which is
I
great.
love it. You very much have the communication skill, and I think we talked about this on our first call. I was like, "I'm
Mhm.
so excited because 'cause you've got, like, the spark. You've got, like, the X factor,
Mhm.
you know, to communicate it. If we can just add a layer of strategy into what you already have, I'm like, you are just gonna fly, and that's exactly what happened,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, gosh, I but that extra layer I didn't have. Would I have had it? Probably not if I didn't, not, because
Yeah.
if I hadn't talked to Kate and she hadn't shared with me, when I thought about it, for sitting back and actually thinking about it, I never thought about it. I was like, "Hey, I can do this. I can do this."
Yeah.
I couldn't because I didn't. So, if I hadn't really talked about it like that, then yeah, I don't know if I would have thought about it.
I am so glad that Kate and Lori had the conversation and talked about what's working and what's not. And so, along those same lines, let's leave with some insights from this call that you can utilize in your job search. Okay, so first, if something's off, you gotta heed that voice. Like Lori said, you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. And so, if you feel like something's not right, take the time to pinpoint what that is and decide what change you need to make. Now, in a perfect world, here's another insight from Lori's conversation. You wouldn't go down a completely different door, choosing a new function or changing industries because you think that maybe this one dried up. Instead, figure out how can you leverage the experience you already have. So the goal is a smaller change for a bigger return. Now, you can finish this episode and decide to maybe take a half day to think about your search and figure out what exactly needs to change. Just remember that you have experience you can leverage. You have achievements and projects and accomplishments and companies that you've been associated with that ring a bell in other people's minds. So leverage those pieces for your success so you can get to the job offer faster. Now, whether I see you in the intensive or if I see you next week here on the podcast, know that until then, Denise and I are cheering you on. We're praying for you, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey, thanks for listening. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. If you found this episode helpful, please tap the 5-star review on the show's homepage in your podcast app. It would absolutely make my day, and it helps others discover the Uncommon Career Podcast. Now, to download your free career resources and learn how I help seasoned professionals land amazing offers in as little as 90 days, click on the link in the description or go to theuncommoncareer.com. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.